to The Independent Musician. Our weekly podcast will focus on the independent artist and the music market at large. You'll hear from those artists as well as music execs, tech experts, and marketing leaders from around the globe. We'll discuss what it takes to make it in the biz and how you can overcome obstacles as you progress your craft, all the while making it interesting and fun. Now, here's your host, Mark Skoda.
All right, this is Mark Skoda with The Independent Musician. Welcome to the podcast today. We've got a great guest. I'm really looking forward to this interview. Brandon Leibowitz, who is a founder of a website that focuses on search engine optimization, other social media technologies. It's SEO Optimizers.com. Brandon is the founder and more than a decade sort of focus on social media generally, search engine optimization, and sort of what you need to be doing to get heard and get seen on the web. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on today.
So let's start out a little bit, giving us some of your background. I know you've been doing this a very long time, at least per your bio. When we had a little introduction at the beginning there, you don't look old enough to be doing this, but most kids start about 9 years old now with tech. So anyhow, I'd love to get some of your background.
Yeah, I kind of just fell into digital marketing, wasn't planning on it, but got my degree in business marketing. And the first job I got out of school was helping a company out with their digital marketing. And I didn't know much about digital marketing. They said, don't worry, we don't know much either. We're going to kind of learn alongside with you, which was kind of interesting. So worked there for a few months, helping out with their SEO, doing social media, helping out with paid ads and doing email marketing, kind of doing it all for them. And just realized that everyone's probably going to have a website in the future. This was in 2007. And there's a lot of different ways to get traffic. Everything I mentioned definitely works to get traffic, but SEO is just a way to get free traffic. So I thought over the years, why spend money on paid ads when you could get up there for free? So really focused on the organic side of things, trying to tap into that free traffic, and worked at different advertising agencies as a director of SEO, and before work or after work and on my lunch breaks, I work on my own company and built it up to where I was able to eventually quit my job and focus solely on my company, and been doing that ever since.
That's great. I mean, obviously, you were on the early stages of everything around social media generally. A lot of companies, to the point, had no idea what to do. In fact, I've been engaged in my previous life with social media management, and the reality is that it continues to change, right? I think that's probably the biggest challenge to most users, whether we're talking about Facebook and Instagram, which tend to be two different audiences, whether we're talking about website presence. A lot of people don't realize that it's not one or the other, it's an all of the above strategy. And frankly, with some of the new services that are out there, things like Rumble for video, certainly YouTube has been a major provider of these services in the past and continues to be so. You've got other services out there, certainly like Getter and other new up-and-coming services. Even Twitter now is recasting itself in a different fashion. So the knowledge you have to have about what is going on in the social media sphere and how to begin to address that is really relatively complex, given the fact that in our case, most of our artists are trying to build a career in music, write songs, record songs, and release songs. Is that right?
No, it's constantly changing. What works today doesn't necessarily work tomorrow, or that company might be out of business. So you never know what's going to change, what the trends are, and how things are going to shift. But you just got to always be on top of it and just try to stay up to date with the latest trends and do some research and just try to be one step ahead if you can.
What are you seeing? So let's talk about what's remained the same. What are some of the things that sort of haven't changed substantially in terms of the overall market as it relates to social media management generally and search engine optimization and website?
Well, the main thing is they're just trying to stop spam. So when they're updating their algorithm, Google specifically, they're just trying to stop spammers. So people find ways to game the system. And Google doesn't want you to game the system because they want you to spend money on paid ads, and they don't want you to do SEO, getting that free traffic. So people that find loopholes or ways to kind of hack Google or any of these algorithms, then they'll update it. So they're not really making big updates. I mean, they have big ones every few months, but mainly they're just trying to stop spammers and make sure they put out the best quality results that can provide value for the user and not just be someone temporarily gaming the system to get some quick traction when it's not really the most useful or beneficial piece of content out there. So that's really what's going on. I mean, they'll have big changes, like Google will say, if you're not mobile friendly, we're not going to show you on mobile devices, or if your website loads slowly, we're going to penalize you, things like that. But most of the stuff is really behind the scenes. Don't really tell you what's going on because
right.
You don't really want you to know what's going on. But stuff where it's user experience, where they know if you have a website and it doesn't look good on mobile and they show you on mobile devices, that it's probably going to not be the best user experience. And a lot of people are going to hit that back button. So they want people to find a website that is easy to read and looks good on Google. I mean, if you're searching on Google and they take you to a website that doesn't look good, it's really hard to read it, it's not the best user experience. You'd be like, come on, Google, give me a website that looks a little bit more easy to read on this device. So it's all about just providing the best user experience, because if not, you're going to be like, all right, I'm leaving Google. I'm going to go on Bing or DuckDuckGo or another search engine. And hopefully they have websites that look good on whatever device I'm viewing it on.
Right. And I think to the extent that, a lot of these services, I certainly have used GoDaddy and Wix and others. Wix I tend to go towards because they're sort of ease of use and updating more fresh content on websites that tend to be somewhat static. I mean, our artists aren't changing their websites all the time. They're not running quote unquote campaigns. When you think about landing pages and trying to get people to buy or to engage on services for businesses or B2B or B2C, it's a different story than trying to get a brand awareness for a particular artist. And, I find that some of those baked templatized services and those that you can even customize quite a bit have pretty good mobile optimization as well. So that I think that's very critical. Certainly one of the things I try to provide guidance on with some of our artists is that if you're going to build your website, make sure you use a website builder that also provides the ability to optimize your mobile. And more importantly, think about what should be exposed on your mobile service versus what's on your main page of your perhaps desktop.
Yeah. There's going to be a much different user experience on mobile. You probably want to have a stripped down version of your website with just the important stuff there, not have a bunch of extra text or pop-ups or things that don't look good on mobile. So kind of just having the bare minimum, whatever needs to be there. And then desktop version, you have all those extra features and things that make it look nice and pretty, but mobile, you kind of have to bring it down to the basics.
Right. How about now? So let's talk about the first area of search engine optimization. What do you do? For my audience, what does that mean? What is SEO?
So SEO is search engine optimization, which means ranking websites on the different search engines, which is really just Google nowadays. So when you search on Google, there's paid ads at the top. Those are all paid, where if you click on those websites, they're paying Google per click. Could be a couple cents per click, could be a couple dollars per click, could be a couple $100 per click. It gets pretty expensive. But right below the ads are the organic listings, which is SEO. And there's 10 websites that are listed on that first page of Google. So it's trying to get to your website in those 10 spots on that first page of Google. But nowadays, it's not just images appear there. Maps appear there for your local business. Images appear there. So you want to optimize all the images on your website. If you have any videos sometimes appear there. And when you see a video, probably 90% of the time, it's going to be YouTube, because Google owns YouTube. So they want to push YouTube as much as they can, because if you search on Google and you don't click on an ad, Google's not making any money. Right, but if you search on Google and there's a video and it's a YouTube video and you play that video, the first thing that appears anytime you watch a YouTube video is always an advertisement. So YouTube is making money, which is really Google making money. And they're going to push YouTube as much as they can. So anyone that has video content, make sure you throw it up on YouTube and throw it up everywhere separately. Throw it up on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, all native videos on those platforms, but definitely YouTube, because that's one of the most popular websites out there. And it's not going to go away anytime soon, because Google is going to promote it as much as they can. You're not really going to see Instagram videos or Facebook videos. Sometimes you do, but majority of the time it's going to be a YouTube video.
That's an important item, because a lot of people will just post on Facebook and maybe they don't have a YouTube channel, or if they have a YouTube channel, they haven't really, done any quality curation to ensure that they have followers and be able to get even their own custom URL. Obviously, you have to have a certain number of subscribers to do that, even if you're not trying to monetize the page, but it is, as you rightly point out, integrated into search results. What do you do in SEO? I mean, what do you do? If you had a client, let's say you have a musician, an artist who's got a website, what would be the process that your organization would undertake to help them, not in terms of getting higher ratings, but also more awareness in the market generally?
It just varies. It's not really a one size fits all. Every website's going to be a little different, but For the most part, one thing is search engines, Google can't really read images or videos or understand audio yet. So a big part of SEO is content, meaning text. And the more text you have on your website, or if you have a YouTube video, if you can write a description about it or transcribe it, that's going to really help out the search engines because they're getting closer to reading images and videos, but they're not there yet. So they really need you to spoon feed them as much as possible. And the more text you have, the more they're going to be able to read, understand, and know what keywords you're targeting. So text is really important. And also like the title of your page or title of a video or a blog post or an audio or whatever it is, but the title is really where you want to try to put as many keywords as possible without repeating yourself. And you get about 60 characters. After that, most of the platforms will kind of stop looking, but you want to try to squeeze in as many keywords as possible without repeating yourself and making sure it makes sense. You don't want to just throw keywords, throw them in there, but you want to do keyword research using tools like the Google Keyword Planner. It's a free tool from Google that will show you how many people will search for your keywords every single month. So you can see, is this a good keyword or should I use a synonym or a plural? Because maybe the singular version gets 500 searches, but the plural version might get 5,000 searches every single month. So little changes have a big impact on your reach and visibility and getting you in front of the right people at the right times.
So do you have a tool set within your company that basically looks at the website and identifies perhaps areas that need improvement, or is that part of your service offering?
Yep. Analyze the website, see what's going on, and make sure we provide them a custom plan because every website's going to be different. So and anytime I work with anybody, I always do a website analysis for free to check out their website versus their competitors and see where they're at versus the competition, what the disconnect is, and how to get you to that level that you want to be at, because we always have to evaluate it. It's not trying to be Google for SEO. I mean, it'd be great if we could figure out Google, but Google has over 200 ranking factors that change every single day.
Right.
Their algorithm. So no one's ever going to figure out Google, but what we want to figure out is who's on that first page of Google for our keywords and how much SEO have they done and how can we do a better job of it? That's all that really matters.
Mm-hmm. So given the fact that generally in terms of search results, artists and musicians are a little different because people generally aren't searching for a band. They're oftentimes, maybe searching for a song. Sometimes if they know their band, they'll search for the band, but obviously, if somebody's just searching for rock music, for instance, a particular band may want to get presented on that first page results. So perhaps they gain a new fan or find a new fan. More importantly, oftentimes bands are linked more closely to their social media, such as Facebook and Instagram. Certainly, most of them are using YouTube. I hope many of them are using YouTube and, leveraging that platform as well. Do you sort of promote or in your efforts sort of integrate across the website through to the social media so that they can get the greatest exposure possible, and then perhaps even tying that into their Spotify account or Apple Music account? How best can an artist approach this? Because they're not selling an immediate need, right? They're not trying to sell a product oftentimes until perhaps a concert where then they want to be appearing for ticket sales. They want to be up on top of search. And it probably changes or oftentimes has different events during the month or years. What kind of guidance would you offer or would you suggest that a musician should have in terms of approaching their social media and website?
Yeah,
it's a big question, I know, right?
Yeah, no, but it makes sense because most people aren't really going to be searching for like rock music on Google. People aren't going to really be doing that. So SEO is probably not to be the best for a band unless they can't rank for their name. So they definitely want to make sure that they show up when they search for the band's name.
Is SEO the right tool versus social media management for bands, for artists?
Yeah. So no, for a website or for a band, musician, most people aren't really going to be searching on Google for those type of keywords. So people aren't really going to go on Google looking for a rock band. They're going to usually go on other platforms or do other ways to find new music, like browsing around, getting friends, recommendations, referrals, social media. But for SEO, for a band, you want to make sure you rank for your band name because that's really important. If you have a really generic name and someone else is ranking for your band name, then you want to make sure you optimize your website for that. But other than that, SEO is not really where you're going to get new people finding you. You want to really utilize social media because every website is going to be different, or every business is going to be different. So SEO doesn't work for everyone, and social media is definitely the place where you want to be if you're an artist, musician, anything with entertainment, news, sports. Those type of things are going to work really well for social, and that's where you just got to understand who your audience is and what platforms they're going to be active on, because you don't need to be active on every platform. You just need to be in front of your audience, and you just got to figure out who your audience is and what platforms are they using. Are they going to be on Instagram? Are they going to be on Twitter? Are they going to be on TikTok? Are they going to be on Facebook? Are they going to be on YouTube? Or tons of other different platforms out there. And you just got to figure out who your audience is and how to get in front of them at the right moments.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, even on the website side, just to give you perspective. I got two artists, one whose name is Lipsia. She just joined us recently. There was a German company by that name. And so when you query her artist name, you'll find the manufacturing firm in Germany. I also have another band out of Atlanta called Fractured, and they actually appear oftentimes in search with another band that is no longer active, but it's also called Fractured. And so is there, just as a comeback to those 2 points, is there a way to separate or differentiate yourself, given that you may have similar named entities out there? Is that possible?
Yeah. Well, that's where you just got to optimize your website and make sure that Google knows that when people are searching, that they want you to appear. Well, it depends too, how many people are actually searching for the band versus the other word. And the majority of people aren't really searching for the band, then Google's probably going to show the band maybe number 2 or number 3. They're not going to show them number 1. It just depends on how popular they are. But if they're a big name and they're not ranking for their name, then what you want to do is put keywords or add more text to the website. So adding more content with the band name on it. But Google doesn't really care what keywords you put on a website because they don't trust anybody. So they want to see what are called backlinks. They want to see other websites talking about you. The more websites that talk about you, the more trust Google is going to give to you. And then they look at those keywords, but it doesn't work the other way around. So backlink is a clickable link from another website that points to yours. So if you're reading, let's say, an article on like Forbes, and in there it says Brandon Leibowitz, and you click on that and it goes to my website, I'd be getting a backlink from Forbes.com. So the more websites that have clickable links that point to yours, the more trust Google is going to give to you and the higher they're going to rank you. So if you're an artist, you could reach out to like venues or promoters, or just try to get in touch with music bloggers and trying to just make sure that when they write about you, which I'm sure they are organically, naturally going to write about you, that they give a clickable link that points to your website, because that's going to make you rank higher. If they're pointing links to your social media, you're just going to help rank higher on, or you're helping, like if they point to your Facebook, you're just helping Facebook rank higher on Google. And nowadays with engagement being so low, it's not really the best to send people to social media. If possible, you want to send them to your website, because that's where you get full control of everything, and you can try to collect email addresses and offer more value, versus where on social media, you post on social media, only a fraction of your audience is ever going to see what you post, especially like on Facebook. Only 5% of the people that like your page will see what you post nowadays, without you having to click that blue button at the bottom that says boost the post, which is essentially advertising.
Yes.
Facebook or Instagram is maybe like a 30% reach, which they're going to keep dropping that. The more popular they get, and eventually be like Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram, and they're all going to keep becoming more play-to-play platforms. So essentially, social media is great to get traction, but ultimately your website is what you own, and you get full control. And also social media, they could take you down anytime. You don't really have much control there, but your website, that's yours forever. You own that, and you should try to get everyone off social and onto your website, but you want to get new people to find you through social media, because that's a great way for people to share music and things like that.
That's, you raise a very important point. And I have always told my artists, it is critical that you have a good website. I don't care what else you do, but you must have that first door opener, because of the very same issues. You own all your content that way. And in fact, we still use email extensively. Email still gets opened. You can get text services as well for telephone numbers. And I think that at the end of the day, if you don't have a good website, and I think this is one of the areas that I'm grateful that you're exploring, is because at the end of the day, this is, I think, working with a company like yourself, and we'll talk about what that might cost, but working with your company like yourself would be helpful to artists to say, now my website's as good as I possibly can have it at the moment, all right? I've done all the right things, and then on an ongoing basis, here are some things that I want to do. For instance, you're dropping a new single, and you put up a landing page for your new single, and then you promote that single everywhere, right? This is a practical application of your website and SEO for events, even where you're going to be playing at a new club, or you're going to be opening for a new band, right? All those sorts of things can be done, and I think that one of the areas that I simply, in my own case, and I think these are things that we need to talk about, perhaps, I've been unable to sort of help the artists efficiently do the kind of analysis we've just been talking about. And I think one of the things I've tried to encourage, although I haven't, there's a lot of bodies out there spending a lot of money and getting very little return. And one of the things I think in your sort of about page, and I read sort of, I thought was important, is, you're helping people figure out what to do, how to do it, but more importantly, how to get a return on investment, because you just can't sink money into a hole just so you feel good, right?
No, you got to make sure that traffic converts, because getting people to your website or getting followers on social media is only half the battle. How do you get them to come to your concert or download your music or buy your merch or whatever that conversion goal is? But getting traffic, getting followers is really just half the battle. That's the starting point. From there, you got to figure out how to get them to convert into sales, leads, whatever that conversion goal is.
Yeah, we talk about in some of our earlier podcasts, I talk about sort of your super fans. If you have 100,000 fans and they do nothing but sort of look at you, but you have 100 fans that spend $1,000 a year between merchandise and tickets, you've got $100,000 a year income stream. You can live on that. So you have to find those 100 or 200 or 1,000 super fans over time that are going to give you the kind of economic benefit and, oh, by the way, fan base that will promote you to other people. I think you raised a point a moment ago as well about what's happening with social media. I've noticed this as well. Even in my own case of Iron Gate Records and some of my artists, they have a big following, but the engagement numbers absolutely suck today. I mean, the organic engagement that you heretofore saw where people would like a post, follow the post, read the post, it's not happening anymore. And I think, as you pointed out, it's purposeful, of course, by the likes of an Instagram and certainly a Facebook, because they just want you to pay for advertising. And as a result, even in my own case, I've typically seen social media as a bit of a sewer anyhow, but the reality is that, we still use it because it's a way to promote and perhaps get some new fans, but it's still not efficient unless you're buying ads. And that I find, is a problem, because as you point out, it's to benefit Facebook and Instagram and not the brand. You have to manage the brand. And where do you manage the brand? You manage the brand at your website. Am I right or wrong on this matter?
Yep. No, I mean, well, you manage it everywhere, but the website is where you really have that full control versus social media. What do you get? A couple places to put a bio and a link, and that's about it. Other than that, there's not much that you can really customize.
So let's talk about what the process would be if I were to engage with your firm, and let's say I've got a website and I want you to start, what are the economics of this, and how much is it going to hurt?
It really varies. It's not one size fits all. So I always have to look at the website versus the competitors and do a free website analysis and check out your website and see what's going on versus the competitors and try to figure out what's the best plan, what's the best strategy, because it's not always going to be SEO or social media. It might be paid ads, or it might be a bunch of different things. So I always do that website consultation first, that free website analysis.
Well, I'll probably have to try to go through this myself so I can build a model on this for one of our bands and figure this out, because obviously one of the things I would like to do is, and I've been looking at sort of white labeling services for my artists, right? Because the problem is you cannot find, in many cases, a lot of the advertisement for social media management and digital marketing services are oftentimes a lot of scams. And it's very hard to discern who is real from who's fake, and more importantly, who's actually doing the job for you versus, buying clicks or gaming the system. Because at the end of the day, you don't build a reputation on gaming the system, just as you don't build, in our case, a reputation on buying fake listeners and fake followers on Spotify or buying streams, which there are a lot of services that do that. So I think, if you look at an individual like a band, what could they typically expect to spend, if you're comfortable in sort of talking about that a little bit, or ranges?
Yeah, it varies so much depending on what they're doing. If they're doing SEO, if they're going to be doing social media, what platforms, how active they want to be, how much content they're trying to put out there versus the competitors or other bands. So that's why I always do that free consultation.
Sure.
And check out their stuff and see what's going on. That way I could really give them a game plan. Otherwise, it could be a couple $100, it could be a couple thousand, it could be somewhere in the middle, but it really is. Well,
I think, and that's important. I think, most of the people, when you think about a band and they put their music together and they go ahead and produce it, edit, mix, master it, and release it, they've got $2,000 to $3,000 in that song, more often than not, even if they're using a good studio and engineering and proper production work. And I always tell them, I said, if you're not willing to spend 10 to 20% of that release value on your marketing, you're probably missing the boat, because that's why you see so many people on Spotify when they release music. And by the way, Spotify, as everyone knows, has about 60,000 new songs uploaded every single day. So that's the sort of breadth of offering that you're competing against to get heard. And I also tell people, if you're not willing to promote it efficiently, both in terms of playlisting and advertising generally, you're going to be in one of those dreaded less than 1,000 sort of streams, and that just doesn't get you anywhere, particularly if you're looking at venues that you want to book to and get to follow you. And then, of course, the whole ticketing aspect, which is largely going to be web-based. I mean, the fact of the matter is you don't generally effectively sell tickets on Facebook. I've never been successful at doing that. Where I've been successful is using a service like Eventbrite, and then actually pushing it out to my known email list and sharing that link to others as well, and that's where I find good results. So I think it's important, I think, for anybody to engage with someone of reputation such as yours to assess their website and then figure out what their budget is. And obviously you can, I hope, to a large degree, help them value engineer what they can afford. Would that be accurate in my statement?
Yeah, that's why I try to look at their website or look at what they're doing and try to give them a roadmap that's going to help them out, and not just say, oh, this is what I recommend, because it's not a one size fits all. And if I just give them the same plan that I give everyone else, it's not going to work for them, and want to make sure that they actually get that benefit and value.
Well, what I'd like to suggest is, because if you would be willing, I think it would be great to initiate a case study together, if that's appropriate, if you feel so. I actually have a lot of work here in the Iron Gate Records label. I'd like to start, frankly, with my son's band, which is Skoda. SkodaRocks.com is the website. And maybe what we can do for the audience and for the artists, and maybe to do that initial analysis, provide what that looks like, and then build sort of a plan around that and what sort of the economics might look like, and then share that with my other 20 artists on board and say, here, guys, this is what's necessary, and here's where we're doing well, and here's where we're doing poorly. And here's the things that we're going to try to improve and make these kinds of investments. Do you want to come aboard on that? That's the whole point of the message, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And anyone could sign up for it. They could all do it. So whoever wants to do it is free to do so.
Oh, good. Well, then we'll probably start that engagement, and I'd love to sort of take advantage of that and then figure out where we go from there. But I think people have to understand that, the web is an important part of their overall strategy of promotion. It's not just releasing the songs. And from an artist, have you done much work in the music industry at this point? I mean, it has not, in my view, been a big user of digital marketing services, at least at the artist level, at the independent artist level.
A little bit, not too many, but I've done a few where I've worked with other artists and having award-winning singers and rappers and musicians in the past. But they're not the most common, but I've definitely worked in the past with them and help them get more visibility and exposure. And
that's the key, sort of to build a fan base. Is there something uniquely different about these sort of approaches in your digital marketing services for an artist, like a musician, versus a business? Is it quite unique, or is there just some additional tweaks that you typically do?
No, every business is different, whether I work with a restaurant or a lawyer, a doctor, a musician, artist, whatever it may be. It's always going to be slightly different. So So I always offer that free website analysis on my website and give people that free consultation.
So I just obviously your website is SEOoptimizers.com, and at the very top there is a free website analysis. I haven't done that. I'm going to do that. Does that automate? Is that an automated process, or do you actually? I see book a call with you to do that. Okay. That's good. Well, we're going to do that after I'm done with this call as well, because I'll get that set up with you, because I'd love to sort of go through this process and share that in a blog post to all of my team and certainly my artists. What advice do you have for people starting out in this journey? Let's say they've not engaged in digital marketing services at all. What's obviously start by doing the free website consultation. Some of them, I will tell you, don't even have websites. I've built their websites for them in Wix, helped them do that quickly using templatized websites, and then obviously optimize the content for their band and the like. But what is outside of this first step? If you don't have a website, do you offer website services as well?
No, I help you get the traffic to your website. So I don't build the website specifically, but make sure that when you do have a website that people find you, because you could spend all this money building a website, but if you're not doing any marketing to it, then it's gonna be tough for people to find you that are new. You'll find existing people that already know who you are will find you, but if you want new listeners to your music or new people checking your website out, then you got to do some marketing to drive that awareness and drive that traffic.
As it relates to sort of some of the other social media platforms that are sort of evolving now, do you see anything on the horizon that's quite interesting to you as a digital marketing services professional?
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I wish I knew which ones would become popular, but there's so many and you never know which ones are going to just explode and take off. But it's best to have a little bit of your foot in the door in each one, and then whichever one starts to seem to be growing, then really push that one.
Mm-hmm. Right. So as it relates to obviously the market generally, have you seen any fallout? I mean, I've watched that some of the advertising dollars are down to some of the digital marketing efforts, not you as a provider, but the advertising dollars, because there has been some concern that, there's a lot of bot spam and fake followers and the like. What are we seeing in the market generally? Are you discovering any trends? Are you hearing anything?
I mean, everything is really shifting towards mobile devices, and because now everyone has a cell phone, it's connecting the whole world.
Right.
In the past, you had to have a computer, which was a little bit tougher for people in other countries. So now everyone has a cell phone, whether it might be an iPhone 4 that we're just throwing away. People will take that and use that and be able to connect online. So that's going to be huge. And video, people don't want to read. People's attention spans are short. So visual content is definitely a big thing that's on the rise. It's just making it easy for people to read and understand and not have to read, but listen to you speaking, and then they can watch you and get that visualization and personalization where it really personalizes it and makes it more personable instead of just a stale website or social media page. Now it adds that connection.
It's interesting you should point that out, because I was reading a recent article about podcasts. Generally, the long form podcast is really growing rapidly in the market. It is it's an area that's driving a lot of interest because people are listening more and are getting a lot of their information when they're perhaps commuting or just listening and trying to find out new information. And I was intrigued to see that. And one of the reasons, frankly, I started the podcast was to provide sort of a point of contact with other people in the market like yourself, and then to offer that up to not only my fans, but also obviously our artists, so that they can begin to understand some of the dynamics in the marketplace from a musician's point of view as well as from the market generally. And so we've been pretty successful, frankly, already in the podcast, and not only getting followers and downloads, but also just in terms of pushing it across the world. And that is one of the key points I tell artists generally, is that you have a global opportunity. You don't have just a U.S. opportunity. And while you may not be able to tour internationally, you can get fans internationally, and particularly for rock music, which is very popularized in Europe right now. People love the musicianship of rock bands. It's also why I think Asia is also getting a lot of support for particularly, larger musicians and music groups. Versus the U.S., which sometimes tends to be focused on rap, hip hop, and perhaps the individual artists. So I think at the end of the day, the whole digital marketing services market needs to be dealt with in a programmatic fashion, and people need to begin taking advantage of services like yourself. And and certainly to be able to encourage their fans to share that content, and more importantly, to keep that content fresh, which a lot of people tend not to do. I mean, they figure, one and done, and that just is not the case, is it?
No, unfortunately, you gotta keep updating everything because when your page hasn't been updated in a year on social media, people are going to think that you're no longer an artist or that you're no longer in business. So you got to keep everything updated. Otherwise, people are going to think you're gone, and the platforms are also going to think that you're no longer active, and they're not going to give you any new exposure and reach.
Brad, I'm sort of getting to close here. Any other closing thoughts? I mean, obviously, one of the things I'm going to do is encourage my artists, and I'll start by getting a free website analysis ourselves. But any other thoughts that you have for the audience and for sort of the musicians generally about what's going on in your business and in particular digital marketing generally?
I mean, for musicians, I would say try to definitely take advantage of the events sites like Eventbrite, maybe do meetups. Try to just tap into new audiences. I mean, Facebook events don't work really well, but sometimes they do. You could try LinkedIn events, but definitely Eventbrite gets so much visibility and exposure, and Meetup is a good one too, maybe if they want to try that. But definitely start collecting email addresses, because email is the most effective form of marketing by far. And they could start collecting emails anytime they go on tour or put out a new album or a new song. They could just send that off to their email list and instantly get some feedback and get some traction going. Whereas if they post on social media, only a fraction of those people will ever see what they're posting. But email, they get that full control forever as well, just like having that website. So make sure that everything funnels back to their website, start collecting email addresses, and try to just think outside the box. Look at what other musicians are doing that are successful. Look at what strategies they're employing, because you can see everything they're doing if you look in the right places and just look at their strategies, look at their platforms that they're active on, and get ideas from them and see what's working and try to incorporate it into your own artistry.
Good to end to the show. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. We'll be talking to you again, because I am going to do the analysis and figure out how to see whether or not we can improve our own results. I've been talking with Brandon Leibowitz. He is the founder of SEO Optimizers, and their website is SEOoptimizers.com. I encourage everybody, if you're wondering what you should be doing, if you're wondering about whether your website is positioned to be found, you ought to check out their website at SEOoptimizers.com and check out the free website analysis. You can book time with Brandon directly, so you can work with him on developing a strategy. And as he shared with us, it is budget friendly based on what you have and how best to approach what budget you can provide. Brandon, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me on. And I did create a special gift for everyone that's listening. So they do go to my website at SEOoptimizers.com. That's SEOoptimizers.com/gift. They can find that there, along with a bunch of classes I've done over the years. I've thrown them all up for free. So if they want to see step by step how to do a lot of the stuff that we talked about, from SEO, social media, how to track everything through Google Analytics, running paid ads, I have videos up there for free that show step by step how to do everything, so they can watch at any time.
I will put that out on our blog site as well for Iron Gate Records, and make sure that I put the backlinks to your website so that we can actually share that with our audience and certainly with our artists. I think that's great. I appreciate that. And again, SEOoptimizers.com/gift. So I appreciate you being able to do that for us, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you for having me on today.
Thanks for joining us this week on The Independent Musician. Make sure to visit our website, IronGateRecordsRadio.com, where you can subscribe to the show on your favorite streaming platform, so you'll never miss an episode. While you're at it, if you found value in this podcast, we'd appreciate you giving us feedback or simply tell a friend about the show. Be sure to tune in next week for a new episode of The Independent Musician, where the independent musician is the star.